The way I suggest doing it is following this outline that I've prepared. This is something that I've used through my college papers and some papers that I've taken to conferences, and it's helped keep everything together really strongly. Basically what you do is each of these is a paragraph, each of these boxes. So in this first box, you start out with a hook, which is where you grab the reader's attention with an interesting story or quote or idea. Then you give the context, which is a brief history of the issue. So tell me why this issue is important. And then you'll have your thesis statement, which explains in one sentence what your position is. And again, we went through that in the critical thinking revision essay. So the other part that I want to focus on is what to do with the following paragraphs. And this is what I suggest you do. First, you start off with a topic sentence. That basically, a topic sentence is when you use the first sentence of your paragraph to tell me the main point of that paragraph and to tie it back to the thesis statement. So basically, in your thesis statement, you should be listing the main points you want to focus on. So if I'm talking about cats are better than dogs because they don't smell and they don't bark, there's 2 points. I'm just making that up. Dog lovers, please don't hate me. I like both species equally. But with those 2 points, then this topic sentence would say, okay, first I'm going to focus on that cats don't smell. So first, cats are better than dogs because they don't smell. And that would be my topic sentence. That tells me the reason I'm focusing on. It ties back to the thesis. I know where we're headed in that paragraph. And then you would take up the rest of the paragraph giving the proof that shows why cats don't smell as much as dogs. You could cite a study. You could talk about behaviors you've noticed in your cat, about how it uses the litter box automatically or things like that. And that would be evidence that shows me why this topic sentence is true. And then end with tying your evidence back to the thesis one more time. It's like an ending topic sentence. So it would say, all right, now that we see that cats use the litter box while dogs are not as aware of their hygiene, I don't know if that's true or not, then that shows that cats smell less than dogs. Okay, so that would be tying it back to the main point. And you would do that with each one of your paragraphs. So now start with your second topic sentence. Second, cats are better than dogs because they don't bark. And then you give the evidence, and then you tie that evidence back to the thesis again, like a reverse topic sentence. Do it again for your third point. And then, because the rubric asks that you appropriately consider opposing arguments, this is something I will heavily grade you on. You need to make sure you're looking at the other team's point of view, that you're acknowledging it, and then showing them why that point of view doesn't invalidate your own, why yours is still correct, basically. So here I would say, some people think that dogs are better than cats because of these reasons. However, they don't outweigh the fact that blah, blah, blah. So that would be refuting it, is then saying, however, I'm still right because of this. Make sure, that's what I'm saying here, make sure that I, as the reader, know that you, the author, are still right. Make sure I know that. And then you have your conclusion where you restate your thesis and then wrap things up. So I will attach this to the announcement that you're watching this video in so that you can refer to it if you like. And I strongly encourage you to, because these topic sentences keep you so organized. They also make it easier to have transitions because they are a transition in and of themselves. Just by referring back to that thesis statement, you're helping the reader smoothly go to the next point because they know where they're at. They know where in the thesis statement you're at. So that is my thing I wanted to share with you. Now, I also wanted to show you a brief example of someone doing this in their paper. This is a student example that I've marked up extensively. And I'm just going to read you the first paragraph, and then we will take a quick look at the first line of each paragraph and see if this student is using topic sentences like I was showing you. So here's the first paragraph. Let's let's watch to see. Here, I'm going to drop this over here so we can easily go between. Let's see if they start with the hook and then give context and then a thesis statement, okay? Daniel, age 28, has over $40,000 in student loan debt, pays 24% of his monthly salary to student loans, and works in a job that doesn't require a college degree. It would seem that Daniel's college degree was not worth it. Although soaring tuition costs are burdening college students with excessive student loan debt in an uncertain economy, the increased employment opportunities, higher salaries, and knowledge and skills that are gained makes a college education worth it. All right, how did he do? Did he have a hook at the beginning? Does he grab our attention from the beginning? I think so. I think this underlined portion is where he tries to grab our attention with these staggering numbers of what poor Daniel is dealing with. Then, does the author give us some context on the issue? Yes, I would say the hook gives us some context, as well as this mini opposing viewpoint where he says, although tuition costs are burdening college students with excessive debt, there's the history, there's the problem. Even though this, I still believe that college degrees are worth it for these three reasons: increased employment opportunities, higher salaries, knowledge and skills. So this here is his thesis statement. That's what he's ending with, which is great. And he lists these three main reasons that he will focus on. So if you copy that format in your thesis statement, it'll be great. You'll be so organized, you'll know exactly where you're going, and so will your reader, which will keep their attention. So now the question is, does he stick to the thesis? Does he use these 3 points? Let's take a look. I know I've already marked it up, so it's kind of obvious, but let's see how he does it. So the next paragraph begins with, quantitative data using employment and earning statistics is a good comparison to evaluate if a college education is worth it. All right, here in red, we've got that first point. He even uses the same word, employment. See, employment opportunities, employment and earning statistics. Using the same word is a good thing. It's like putting up a signpost for your readers. Instead of, some students think it's repetitive to use that same word, but it is like a traffic signpost. Think how confusing it would be if a stop sign only said stop a third of the time and the rest of the time it said halt or hold on a minute or wait, don't go yet. That would be confusing. It wouldn't be as quickly recognizable. But using the exact same word, stop, helps us to quickly recognize it. So we're doing the same thing here. He's using the same word, and he's even showing us that this is still focused on his main point of a college education being worth it. College education worth it, college education worth it. There's his other signpost. So we know we're in the first point of the thesis. And then he goes through and gives us evidence and then ties it back to his thesis. Let's take a look at the second topic sentence. The higher salaries earned over a lifetime make the cost of a college education a worthwhile investment. All right, there's the tie back to the thesis. Here's the tie back to the point. Higher salaries, higher salaries. And then this whole paragraph is focused on evidence on that. Okay, he does it for knowledge and skills as well, his third point. So he's addressed everything in his thesis. You want to make sure they match. And then he goes into his opposing argument. One concern of those who argue that a college degree is not worth it is this. But this is why they're wrong. And he refutes the argument. I won't go over the rest, but I hope that helps you see how a topic sentence helps organize a paper and how easy it is. This isn't hard. It's almost like a math equation. You just need to use the same variable from your thesis in that first sentence of the paragraph that will address that idea. So I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please contact me. I would say this, since this paper is a little longer, a little more involved, it is the one that I feel like I can most help you with, and that revision is the most important on. So please don't hesitate to email me with questions about your draft, to ask me to look over your draft, or to contact the Writing Center. They let you email their papers to them and they give you written feedback in return. So please use these resources. Revision on this paper is vital, and I'm excited to see what you can do. This is where you become comfortable with an academic paper and you feel confident in being able to do papers like this in the future. So I look forward to hearing from you, and yeah, let's get revising.